And now we stepped very well into the field of marketing, how to sell the grape we are talking today, which is Blaufränkisch. And Paz, where are you? She's gonna tell us more how is that done in the first hand. So, Paz, the stage is yours.
Hello everybody. Thank you so much for this invitation and to share with you some thoughts about what we do daily in a business. Thank you very much. So this wonderful organization and this focus on lovely grape variety. And thank you also Velika Lega to make possible that I'm here this week with my whole family, because it's holidays Thursday and Friday in France, and it was a challenging week to be here, but we managed, and thank you for all the efforts. So I will, I don't have presentation, I will talk to you. So if you have any question, then we can talk more. But just a brief presentation of who I am, because maybe, well, it's the sommelier representation in these talks. And so I'm Argentinian. I work since 2003 in the restaurant business, and I start just polishing glasses, and because we do it all by hand in Argentina at that time. So I was studying literature, and I started as a sommelier, as just polishing and cleaning. And then I learned more and more about the wine. I was in a very good restaurant, taking care about the details and about the knowledge and education. So I learned there, and I stayed 5 years in this restaurant. So I finished my literature professor, and also I studied at the same time sommelierie, to become a sommelier. And then, well, I worked 13 years in Buenos Aires, and then in 2012, I decided to leave Argentina for educational reasons. Maybe as most of you know, and if you visit Argentina, you know that in Argentina, we mostly drink only Argentinian wine. So for a sommelier, it's quite challenging. If we want to gain more knowledge or learn more about international wine, we have to, or have the possibility to travel very often, or yes, or it's very, very tough to find a Chablis in the market. So it's very challenging to be knowledgeable and to have the tasting experience for a sommelier. So that's why it was not economical reasons, it was just for keep on learning, and because I start also challenging myself in the competitions, you know, international competitions, best sommelier of Argentina, then best sommelier of Americas, and best sommelier of the world. So I need to train my palate and my education like as fast as possible. So 10 years ago, I decided to leave Argentina. And so when I left Argentina, my choice was a little bit more cultural than wine focused, if I can say. I decided to move to France, and because maybe for a sommelier, the dream places are New York or London, where you have all the wines of the world. And but well, I decided France because I wanted to learn another language. So if you see that my English is worse, more I live in France, my English is getting worse. But okay, my French is okay now after 10 years living in France. So in France it was very, yeah, I think it's the country, the more challenging country to sell for non-French wine, and that's why I tell this story. But my story was to be from a Argentinian market focused in the Argentinian wine, and then to a French market focused in the French wine. So when I arrived to Paris, I started working in restaurants. I tried to be as open-minded as possible. It was just starting. It was starting like coming more wines from outside France. But there were not a lot of, for example, if you want to find Australia or New Zealand, there was quite a few, but the center of the market in France is French wine, and then Italy and Spain, no, and Portugal, mostly for the Porto and a lot of Porto to cook. But so the market was quite difficult if you want to be very open-minded, or if you want to taste a lot of things. But well, I was in France, so learning French, and I decided to when I started learning a little bit of French, to work in 3 stars Michelin restaurant in Paris. So, and this is just for you to, I mean, I'm sure you, the ones that visit Paris and know the city, you can see the city is really divided in two. The one part of the city is very traditional, and one part of the city is more open-minded and is getting more eclectic with wines and the regions. And so it's like living in 2 countries in the same city. But the first restaurant I worked was only about Chardonnay, only about Bordeaux, only about Pinot Noir. So it's 3 stars in Paris. It's considered to be, the best place you can eat and you can drink. But in the sommelier scene, it's very centered in Burgundy, Bordeaux, and that's the main focus. That's what we sell. That's what we work with. That is the Alsace is a small part of the wine list. Then big part of white Burgundy. Then some whites of France, and then is red Burgundy and Bordeaux. So you find in this reality, and the most expensive, the better to sell, for sure. So there is a lot of restaurant that works like this, and they have. We had a very beautiful clients, and I mean beautiful bottles that are open client. The Monday for lunch, la tâche, it was easy. This is crazy. But for a sommelier, so they do this. No, there's Burgundy, Bordeaux, and I was a little bit suffocated maybe because I was arriving to France and I wanted to learn about everything, and was impressive. But so I decided to move, and we create a small restaurant with a very eclectic wine list. And I decided to do what was my dream, to do like a wine list like in New York, with all different grapes, all different countries, all mixed up, maybe just arranged by style. And so there I could have a small wine list, but very eclectic, if I can say. And there, I think it's when you found that French people is much more open, and that they are more open to taste different things, different wines, different origins. But it was now 10 years, so now I think we are in a moment that is another open space also for wines from the world. So today, in 2018, I started working with Anne-Sophie Pic, and Anne-Sophie Pic is a woman chef it's the 4th generation in the restaurant business. So her grandmother started the business in Saint-Péret, in very near Valence, in the Rhone Valley, and she's the only woman having 3 stars in France. So I started working with her. We are I mean, we found each other in a film about how is the woman in the kitchen in women chefs in France, because in the world as well. So we found each other, and she really liked my approach about wines and beverages, and we started working. So today it's not about only France, because we work, have restaurants in London, in Singapore, in Lausanne, and mainly in France. And we have some pop-ups and openings in the next months. But I tell you this story because, so from the 3 stars in Paris to the 3 stars with Anne-Sophie, I think that was, was a big difference. So not all the 3 stars in France are like this, but mostly, and for the foreign wine is opening like for the wines by the glass and all that was increasing in the last years. But so to Sell Blaufränkisch, you need the sommeliers. For sure, mostly in France, because it's very, you can have, the French wines, the market is very, very big and important, but you need the sommeliers. But you need the sommeliers that are prepared to sell grapes like Blaufränkisch, that it's not all of them, as I told you, because there are a lot of the professionals that are centered in the classic regions. Since I left this restaurant, I also I found out that Blaufränkisch can be it has their place for the French taste and palate. So I think it's a market that can be developed it has a great potential. And why I say this? Because because of the characteristic of Blaufränkisch, but also because of gastronomy and tasting and studying grapes and wines. I had like this mental map that maybe is also eclectic, and I share with you like very in my universe it was like Syrah, Blaufränkisch, Teroldego, and Malbec, and I have my explanation about this, from the spicy to the more floral, or to the more floral to the more spicy. In the two extremes, more powerful and more in intensity and tannins. But I think these 4 grapes were like my favorites in all the wine list. So we try to push as much the grapes that maybe the French people didn't know, and to expand their knowledge. And also, I think in France, also it's important to expand the knowledge of the sommeliers, as I told you, because all we found in these 3 stars that we are working only with some grapes and some styles. But I was always very worried about how a sommelier can develop all the skills in the markets that have only the wines of the country. So my mission in restaurants is to give the knowledge to the sommelier, and they know it, and they know that they will be educated, and then give the knowledge to the client without that the client don't know that we are education, but we are sharing, and we are giving wines from the world in restaurants that can be 3 stars, 2 stars. So one of the difficult things when I arrived was to say, okay, let's see what happens in 3 stars. Also, we can sell wines from all the world. Even now, where I work, 3 stars is in Valence, so it's in the Rhone Valley, very close to Cornas and Côte-Rôtie. So there is, you imagine, is a big pressure also to sell the Northern Rhone wines. But when a client arrives to a 3 stars, we are in the region, but also we are in the world. So for us, it's our opportunity to show the world as well, and to show the diversity, and also very focusing on the pairings. If a client comes to taste a pairing, we are going to give the best pairing that we can, and then we have the 30,000 bottles in the cellar. But a 30% of the wine list is a foreign wine. Lot of European wine, but also from the Americas and also Australia. So it's really open. And I think we can show that if in France it's possible to sell Blaufränkisch, and that is mostly from Austria, what we have in the list. I think it's possible to show how it works and how it can combine with French preparations, with the creations of the chef. Other positive thing about Blaufränkisch and how to sell Blaufränkisch, I think it's that there is no like a lot of pressure, or what I see, with the pairing of the local food. Well, being Argentinian, I'm a little bit sad when I see that French people only drink Argentinian wine in the Argentinian restaurants. They drink Italian wine in the Italian restaurant, and so on. Now the Greek wine in the Greek restaurant. And I think in your case, and if we talk about Blaufränkisch or Austria or Slovenia, what we taste is that maybe it's not the first thing that a client will say, okay, I drink Blaufränkisch and I will pair it with this. And that is, I think it's a positive thing, because if not, you get in a close-minded, and you will. I have some difficulties to sell. Even for me, maybe it's more easier to sell Blaufränkisch than Malbec, because Malbec is stronger in the sense of place and maybe of pairings or food. So if a French client says, "Okay, you give me Malbec with a DAC," I have to explain like very much why I'm doing this pairing. While Blaufränkisch, they don't have a knowledge about, or some regional pairings. So this, I think, this is a virtue, is something that is positive. There is so this place for Blaufränkisch in the French palate, because I think the French people are very used to the high acidity, the fresh wines, and they want to taste something different. But also, for example, Gamay is, Beaujolais is in the trend, but a lot of French people knows in between brackets a lot of Beaujolais or Morgon or the Cruz, but they have some knowledge about it, so they're not maybe some enthusiastic about tasting Gamay. Syrah is delicious, but also, and they have a lot of connections with Blaufränkisch, but we have a lot of Syrah that needs time, a lot of time in the bottle, so we have to mature in our cellar a lot of Côte Rôties and Hermitage. So for some parents it won't work. Cabernet Franc in France, I think it's not well understood in the gastronomic restaurants, or in the thoughts of the classic French drinker, that it's a little bit more extreme, so it's a little bit harder to sell. And in between these three grapes, like Gamay, Syrah, and Cabernet Franc, I think Blaufränkisch has a privileged place to be proposed, because in the a little bit less tannin than Syrah, is juicy. It's very delicious with a little bit of spice, the black fruits, and I think that we try to serve blind to the French clients, so they then can discover first that there are a lot of clients that don't know that in Austria, for example, they make wine. If they know that in Austria make wine, they think it is only white, so we show red. And yes, and they discover a new region, new grape, and an excellent pairing. I was talking also to, for example, to colleagues about this, and there, I think Blaufränkisch also is a grape that we study mostly when we study for sommelier, but then in competitions, maybe when you do competitions, you start getting very curious about all the grapes, because competitions everything can happen. But for the master sommelier, for example, diploma, we know we won't get a Blaufränkisch, a blind Blaufränkisch, so it's not what we taste most when preparing the master sommelier. So I think Blaufränkisch is it suits a lot of sommeliers that are preparing for competitions or then wine educators or people that is following the master of wine. So not all the sommeliers are curious about. I think you have to really be very curious about everything, and then you find your grape. And as I told you, well, this for me, this progression, like Syrah, Blaufränkisch, Terol de God, is a lovely grape that I love, and then it has a relation also with Syrah. And you can ask why Malbec is there. But Malbec I'm not forcing, but today there are a lot of Malbecs that share a lot of characteristics in the floral, also in turning more in the black fruits and acidity and mostly moderate tanning. It depends how it's made. But I think these are 4 fantastic grapes. And but in France, I think it's easier even to sell Blaufränkisch than well, for sure, Terol de God, that is is a grape that is not very well known. But we have really good. They all love Blaufränkisch when we sell. When we sell it is mostly by the glass, but also what we do is we do 3 months of some regions all together, like a region focusing in Croatia, Slovenia, Austria, Germany, so they can have also a context. It's not just one Blaufränkisch in the list, so that is like a system for the French people to have. This say, okay, they're doing not only wine in Austria, they're doing also in Slovenia or in Croatia. So we try to do this system to sell. And well, one thing is for sure challenging is that we want to give different things to the client. We want to give new things to the client. We are not obliged, because it's when you are in France, you can sell just French wine, and there is diversity, so you can sell just French wine. But I think it's important to place the main grapes and the main styles in the list, no matter in which country you are. But you have to battle to do this. I was talking a couple of days ago with David Béraud. David Béraud is a sommelier in France. He was a lot of times finalist in the best sommelier of the world. So I think I get the right person to ask. I ask many colleagues, but he is now, for example, it's a good question now, because now I'm selling Blaufränkisch by the glass in a 2-star Michelin restaurant that is called Sur Mesure. That is Thierry Marx, is a very well-known chef, and David Béraud is selling by the glass Blaufränkisch and it's pairing with Wagyu beef, also lovage pepper and shiso. So you can have, you know, this texture combination, because the very texture of the Wagyu beef that is intense and with more fat, and the Blaufränkisch with its beautiful freshness, balance with the very nice tannins, but not so much, and with the aromatics also with the shiso or a little bit of herbal spice, which he says, I'm selling Blaufränkisch by the glass and Pinot de Nuit that is much more peppery and intense, but there are two great grapes to propose to the client, and he is in Paris in 2 stars. So things are changing a lot in the last years. I think the market is much more open, and the pairings we can do with the preparations are just incredible. We in the group pick one of the dishes that are very well known from Anne-Sophie. It's like a beetroot that she do with it's a beetroot, and it has a coffee and also some barberry. So it has also the juiciness of the beetroot, the intensity, the earthy, and also the freshness. And also a little bit of this coffee aromas, and that give also bitterness, and but underlines with a sweetness, and it really works with Blaufränkisch. So also I see a possibility for Blaufränkisch also to pair with preparations that we need red wine, but with not so very balanced oak, very nice acidity, and the acidity here is, I think, the most important for the French palate, and they find it not shocking. In Argentina, if you taste the Blaufränkisch, maybe it's going to be a little bit in the first. The clients will think, okay, I have to get used to this freshness. But in France, even it's in a not enormous market for you, I think there is a lot of possibilities and a lot of position for Blaufränkisch. We pair it as well with breast pigeon that is infused with blackcurrant leaves, and also some floral like the damson roses, which is beautiful because it has also beetroots and also the cooking juice, and this is like a wonderful pairing as well. So there will be always a place for Blaufränkisch for the kitchen of Anne-Sophie Pic. I think she has a lot of elements that has in common with this grape, yes, so that is a little bit what I wanted to share with you. What I wanted to talk about France, because maybe sometimes you say, okay, we see in Instagram a lot of trends, a lot of publications, but when we are working in Paris, there is some decisions to make where if you're going to taste or be expert in Burgundy or in Bordeaux, or if you're going to get a little bit more in the natural wine scene or in the more eclectic wine lists, and it's not easy to combine both things. I mean, working with a top chef and have the possibility of have a wine list like with wines from all places of the world, but not to have just wines from all the places of the world, but wines that can be very good with the pairings, with the kitchen, with the focus of the style of the food, and with the great plus we have also the great pressure about, well, we are in a region that is a wine region. We sell a lot of Rhone is our main part of the cellar. But also I want to have always wines from all parts of the world. and the best grapes as well, that I think that can be iconic, that can have a characteristic, a personality. But I can assure you that it's not difficult to sell Blaufränkisch in France. So thank you very much. Thank you for your attention. And yes, if you have some questions, I will be here.
Yes,
as well.
thank you, Paz. I became hungry.
Yes.
So, and it's
Sorry.
a truth. If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. So selling Blaufränkisch in France, so there is the world waiting for you. And I think especially chefs or restaurant owners might have questions for you, Paz. And the idea that came from my head is that creating menus or dishes that actually work, and I think we needed to create a big workshop and to combine winemakers and chefs and having fun, and then some good results will come out. Any questions for Paz, please? Yes.
I just want to make sure I understand. So French diners whom you are introducing for the first time to Blaufränkisch, this is almost always in the context of a degustation menu or where you have open glasses, yes? Right. I mean, that's very important. I love that you mentioned the beetroot, because I love the beet connection, and it points out one of the things that I'm long ago was a restaurateur myself. You know, it's great if you can show what I call the Weintürtliche Speisen, the dishes that kill wines, that destroy wine. Obviously, beetroot is a good example. You know, artichoke. These things. If you can show that you have a wine that can master one of the Weintürtliche Speisen, it's always a good entry point.
Yes, well, we sell mostly, what I try to do is always in the tasting menu. No matter we are in Valence for the restaurant 3 stars, then in total it's 9 stars. So we have a lot of restaurants 1, 2, and 1, 3. But what I always try to do is in the tasting menus, trying not to repeat country or beverage, or if we can. Well, France maybe gets a little bit more because we're in France, but show diversity and diversity of textures, of origins, but focusing in the pairing. So we taste with the chef. I show the wines and we choose what is the best. But yes, it's mostly by the glass or in the tasting menu. But also I have in the wine list by the bottle as well references, and that's why I want to educate each sommelier of the restaurant, because if they are in France and they will gain only French knowledge of wine, for me the job is not made. I have to make strong sommeliers to work all over the world, because we don't know when the work will be tomorrow. So if they have to have the taste of the countries, of the wines, and there is a big pressure about locavorism and the local. I know this, but I think it's in our world of sommelier, it's about origins, diversity, discoveries, sharing. So yes, we start by the tasting menu, but then we mostly educate sommeliers to sell by the bottle as well, and to share the passion of another different grape and different taste and different origin. But the most important is that they are delicious wines and well made, and yes, that is the most important.
And which countries are represented with Blaufränkisch on your list?
Is Austria. Yes.
Okay. At the moment, Austria. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Paz, very much.